Hello, I'm Tara Brabazon and welcome to the Post 83, the job search and applications. Yes, this is our next instalment in our career construction job seeking series, which I've sort of subtitled in my mind, Finding a Job During the Zombie Apocalypse. Now, last week we made that whole session about you, a diagnostic about who you are, what you're interested in, what you believe your future could hold. And we also configured a diagnostic around a master or mistress CV. So last week was all about you, locating what you do well, locating gaps in your CV and how to fill them. And what we're trying to think about, moving on from last week, is your professional deal breakers. So what are the issues that you simply cannot stand in a workplace that are just too weird, too problematic, too challenging? So what are your deal breakers? I think it's important that we log that. And also, in a more positive vein, we explore what your idea of success is. That's sort of going to be a question for us in the next few posts, I think. Who you are and what you consider to be success and a successful career. Now, that's going to be an important question for us to consider, but this week we're doing something a little bit different. We're thinking about the job search, but we're also thinking about how we construct an application. And again, similar to last week, our goal is to construct a master or mistress application. So a big application with all sorts of headings that you're able to cut and paste and move and transform with ease for each job that you apply for. Now, I want you to apply for a lot of jobs. That's going to be our mantra for the day. I need you to apply for a lot of jobs. What we're talking about this week is not about your hopes. It's not about your dreams. It's not about your dream job, because trust me, we're awake when we go to work, and I need you to be awake. I also need to clarify for you the ruthlessness of what I'm discussing here. You are hired because you're going to solve a problem for that university or that organisation. You are not hired to feel good about yourself. You are not hired so that you can pay off your mortgage. You are hired to solve a problem. Put another way, you're hired so that they can extract value from you. So what money can you make for that organisation? What problem can you solve? So this is our mantra for the week, okay? In tough times for the planet, for businesses, for organisations, for universities, they will not advertise a job unless they are desperate, because they don't have the money to advertise for that job. And when they've got a problem, a serious problem that they need to solve, they will hire the most junior, the cheapest person they can hire to solve that problem. So when you're getting one of those jobs, these are difficult, tough jobs. They're the only jobs that are available at the moment. People are hiring a human to work them hard and to extract value from them. So at this point, I need to summon the theory that we're going to deploy this week. And this is Karl Marx's double freedom. This really is a way to understand the workplace. Karl Marx's double freedom, two freedoms. The first freedom is we only have our labour power to sell. So think about that. You as a human, you only have your labour power to sell. That's the first freedom. But there is a second freedom. You can sell that labour to anyone. People forget about the second freedom. Yes, you've only got your labour power to sell, but you can sell it to anyone. So what we're doing this week is we're making sure we're going to work that second freedom so that you can sell it to a group of people. Some will hire you, but I want you to be able to make a decision. I want you to be able to choose who you sell your labour power to. Okay, so what we're doing this week is we're going to put in place 5 maxims, 5 operating principles, if you will, that I want you to come to every job application and every job search. Okay, let's do it. And remember, our guiding maxim is Marx's double freedom. Let's do the first principle. Apply for a lot of jobs. If you get nothing else out of this week, get this one mantra. Apply for a lot of jobs. If anything is there or thereabouts in your wheelhouse, in your interests, in your expertise, anything there or thereabouts, apply for it. Full-time, part-time, mat leave cover, tenure track, doesn't matter, apply for it. Now, you're applying for this diversity of jobs for a series of reasons. The first is, and this is the crucial one, we never know how many jobs are already filled. We never know how many jobs are advertised that are already promised to another person. There's someone acting in that role that they want to give it to. We'll never know how many jobs there are. In research, it's just under half, supposedly. 40% of jobs already have somebody in mind when the advertisement appears. Now, the challenge is you don't know which of these jobs are already promised. You just don't know. So you can apply for it in good faith and get terribly excited about it, and you have absolutely no chance of getting that job. So we don't know what's happening behind the wizard's curtain. We don't know. So you can only apply and see if you can pull the curtain back a bit. Because you also need to remember there are jobs that are advertised that don't get a field. So they advertise and very few people apply, but you don't know. So you've got to apply to pull back that wizard's curtain at least a little bit. Now, how do we source all these jobs? Now, the process has changed even in the last 2 years, certainly post-COVID, but how we find out that jobs are available. The first thing I suggest, I've never recommended this before, but the culture is changing. Seek out Seek. Seek is probably the best job board at the moment. And the gift for people who are geographically limited, so in other words, you've got kids, you've got a partner, they're going to school, your partner's in work, and so you can't move countries, you can't move cities. The gift of Seek is you can configure very precise geographical parameters around where you are applying. Great. So Seek, rock and roll, use it. Now, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also changing. I've always recommended LinkedIn. You know, a lot of universities are now using LinkedIn almost primarily to get their posts, and that's great. But there's another way to use LinkedIn that I've seen certainly in the last year. Post Twitter, post X. Twitter used to be great to find out the jobs that were being advertised and perhaps didn't have a field and people were a bit desperate. Now, Twitter's gone in terms of assisting us in a job search, but LinkedIn has intensified in its importance. And it's not only the formal job advertisements. What I'm talking about is when people get a bit desperate in a workplace, and we're seeing this on a daily basis at the moment, and they're not getting applicants and they're not getting a field, and somebody is individually saying, please apply for this job, please apply for this job. And of course, what that signifies is they haven't got a field, the due date's about to close, and they haven't got anyone that they can pick for that job. So you need to watch the networks of the networks, individuals who are drawing people's attention to a job because they are desperate, and that's why they're doing that. So use the formal and the informal components of LinkedIn. Great. Now, the crucial one. If particularly you're in a location that you don't want to move from, or there are particular universities you're very interested in working for, then go to their formal job portal. Go to their appointment portal or profile on their institutional website. And I need you to look for their full-time jobs, their part-time jobs, and what I need you to do is get on their job register. Right? Also get the job alerts in place. Most universities now allow you to set up a job alert. So any job that appears you can get. So if you are targeting particular institutions, then really get that job alert going, okay? And get on every work register that they have in place. This disintermediation strategy is working incredibly well at the moment because money is tight. And so what's happening is, finally, universities are retracting back to their own HR departments to advertise for posts. You know, they used to have all the gatekeepers and the re-intermediators and the consultants. Through a lack of money, that's not really possible anymore. So you'll get a lot more job advertisements directly from the institution. Okay, so we're applying for everything that's remotely in your wheelhouse, and you're doing this for a series of reasons, colleagues. Firstly, you'll just never know if a job that's advertised has a preferred candidate. You don't know, none of us do, what is an open and what is a closed process. We don't know. Secondly, I'm wanting you to apply for a lot of roles because I don't want you emotionally invested in these roles. Stop thinking about dream jobs, please. There are no dream jobs. You do a job while you are awake. Let's get awake. The best way to get a job, what I want for you, what is the best strategy is to apply for multiple jobs and get a few of them. And then you've got your choice. That is Marx's second freedom. And what it does, why I'm so focused on Marx's second freedom, is it returns power to you. Okay, there's my first maxim, the second maxim. Give every application everything you've got. Now, my previous hint was about making sure that you have a choice, that you're not desperate and have to take really dreadful jobs. So I need you to have a choice. But that doesn't mean that you're slack or you're casual or you're unmotivated when you're applying for all of these different jobs. I need you to give every job opportunity, every application you do, everything you got. Energy, excitement, passion. Woo! Yeah, come on, I'm excited. Yeah, let's do this, right? Oh, I'm excited about this job. And you need to do that over and over and over again. So what this means is, with this energy level, I need you to be excited, be passionate about all of these roles that you're applying for. What that means is, if there are gatekeepers, and jobs still have them, so you've got employment consultants, or you've got an executive search firm, right? So you've got these gatekeepers, or indeed an HR person at the university that are holding back the job description. So the job description is not available on LinkedIn or Seek. You've got to write to somebody so that you can actually get the job description, right? Interesting strategy, that. But when you write to those people, and by the way, the ads say something like, for further information about this role and the selection criteria, please write to random@random.com. Okay. So you need to write to random@random.com or the generic email address, and I need you to express incredible enthusiasm and passion and energy. I need you to be excited, okay? Great. And I need you to maintain that energy for every single post that you're applying for me. And remember, I want you to apply for a lot, okay? Use, and this is the crucial point, use the selection criteria as headings in your cover letter. That's important around the world, but in Australia, and for my colleagues around the world that are thinking of applying to Australia at this point, let me just tell you a deep truth. You must use the selection criteria. You must use the language of the selection criteria. The first lens that assesses applications, the first lens is we go through the application. If the selection criteria is not there, the application is discarded. So you must use the headings of the selection criteria, put them in bold, put them in colour, because people are looking for them, and if they can't find them, you're gone. Okay. So get as much information about this university or this organisation from the website, from the PDF that's containing the job information, the responsibilities. Get information from the gatekeeper if you can. Sometimes they want to call you, call them, get information. Then I need you to put those headings in the criteria in your application. Right. Now, the work we did last week on your master mistress CV, this work starts to become important now. You need to shape it for this particular post. Not all your headings are going to be required. Not all your referees are going to be required. So you never ever have a standard CV, Tara Brabazon CV, that you send around to all jobs. You've got to tailor it to the different jobs for which you are applying. And what I do as a hint to not confuse the multiple jobs is I put Tara Brabazon, University of Chester, lecturer. So you actually put name, university, and the title of the role. Yep, great. And then you don't get confused, and it's clear that you've respected the process and you've constructed a CV for that particular job. So it looks professional, right? Now, this doesn't mean that you're having to write a new application every time. No. You see, most posts have very generic requirements of all sorts of jobs. They pretend they're all very granular and distinctive and edgy. They're really, really not. Almost all of them have about 60 to 80% of the same criteria. They may call it different things, but they have the same criteria. So you'll always be asked to talk about your degrees. You'll always be asked to talk about your communication skills, your cross-cultural communication skills, EDI perhaps. You'll be asked to speak about your experience and your expertise. Okay, you'll get other headings like your capacity to work under pressure, which means that they've sacked 15 people and they're hiring you to do 15 people's jobs. Can you work under pressure? Can you work with stakeholders? Can you complete different tasks in a timely fashion? So the multitasking question. And look, you may get weird headings like, what are your values? That's an increasing one. It's a bit strange, but what are your values or core values? And my personal favourite is always, how do you handle difficult people? Always interesting when that one appears. And you'll get something like, why were you interested in the role? How did you hear about the role? Okay, now you can write these headings, a paragraph under these headings at any time. So what we're doing is we're constructing a master or mistress application file, okay? And then what happens is, I'll write communication skills, scoop those words up, put them in your bespoke application, render them significant and precise for that job, but you've saved yourself a lot of time. So you're developing through your career this master application document. So you'll always have the communication skills, the EDI section, the stakeholder section. Now, every new job will ask you to write something new, and that's great too. So you're writing it for that job, but then scoop it out and put it in your master application for next time. So most importantly in this cover letter, do not bury the lead. And that means the first paragraph is everything. It means the first 3 sentences are everything. Those first 3 sentences must extract a wow. 3 sentences, wow, to keep reading. And most of you know I sort of hate the look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. The people that celebrate the opening of an envelope on LinkedIn. We all know those people, okay? And I hate this stuff. But the genre of an application requires that it is very look at me, right? That's what the genre is. You've got to be confident, and it's about me, and I'm fabulous. So you just got to get yourself into that mindset. Please leave the mindset once the application's done, but you've got to get yourself into that sort of confident, I am the best person for this job. And the first 3 sentences are crucial. They must extract a wow from the reader. If you don't get a wow, the person that's reading your application will start to move into a flicker, and they'll start to flick or scroll through your application. Remember from the context of the people doing the hiring, we're reading 90 applications, we're reading 30 applications, and we are after excuses to get rid of people. We need to create a short list of 3 or a long list of 9. And any reason to exclude somebody, we have to do that, okay? So if your first paragraph's filled with sort of platitudes, You've lost them and they've become flickers. You can pull a flicker or a scroller back through your headings. So have the heading that is the criteria and write really gutsy sentences straight under that. That's how you stop a flicker and you return them to the application. So get yourself into the headspace. I'm terrific. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Okay. And show them. Show them. This is the hint. Show, don't tell. Show them with the subtlety of a brick through a window that you are able to do this job with ease. I need clarity. I need precision. I need examples that confirm how good you are. So there's their criteria. Slap sharp sentences under it with an example that proves it. That's it. And remember, you've got to apply for many, many, many jobs with this level of energy. Every job, give it passion, give it commitment, give it excitement. Don't also, this is the other hint for punters, don't give one employer any sense that you're applying for multiple jobs. Just talk about that one job. And then next one, just talk about that job. Don't give an employer any sense that you've applied for 25. Important. This is about you, double freedom. Okay, so submit your cover letter, your bespoke CV, and then, great, one done, go through your process for the next one. You have 5 minutes, if you're lucky to be frank, but you have 5 minutes to sell yourself that you can do this job. Provide 2 great documents, your CV, cover letter, application, and summon your best self. Grab them by the throat for 5 minutes. Okay, 3. This is the big one. This might change your life, it certainly changed mine. 3, solve their problems. We talked about at the start of the post this week that this is very different from the work we did last week. Last week was all about you. What you do well, what you do badly, how we can fix those gaps, thanks for playing. It was all about you. This is different. The employers don't give a damn about you and don't give a damn about your hopes and dreams and your trajectories and your CV gaps. You need to work out what they require from a worker. That's it. You need to park all your hopes and dreams at this point. They are irrelevant to the employer. You will get a job not for who you are, but for what you can do for the employer. People will not hire anyone these days unless they are in a catastrophic position. Right, so a lot of people have been sacked, restructure after restructure after restructure. People will put in part-time and casual workers if they can, as long as they can, until they're absolutely in a catastrophic situation. So what's happened through these restructures after restructures after restructures is there are now insufficient people to teach courses. There are insufficient people to do the marking. Research contracts where the money has already been received. Research contracts, the deliverables can't be delivered. And as we all know, there are now large chunks of disciplines that don't have PhD supervisors available for those subjects. So we are at what's described as a sub-optimal level now, a desperate culture in our universities. So at this point of desperation, a person will be hired. You will be hired. You will be hired if you can solve the problem of the university, the institution, or the organisation. But the issue is, you've got to work out what is the problem. The job advertisement itself or the selection criteria may reveal the problem overtly or implicitly. If it's, for example, a teaching-only role, right? So this is a teaching-only role. That means they are absolutely desperate and you'll be teaching all the hours that God may send you on a given day. Okay, so teaching-only roles, they are desperate. They're not covering their courses. Then some weird things have occurred in the research space in the last 2 years. We're starting to see advertisements for a 30% or a 60% research assistant or research officer role. So in other words, they wish that they could hire a postdoc, a full-time postdoc, but they don't have the money. So they're hiring a 30% or a 60% worker to work them really, really hard to try and get those deliverables done. Wow. So the point is, there are no great jobs. There are no pleasant jobs. There are no enjoyable jobs. They are jobs that are available, and you need to go into these application processes with your eyes wide open for me. So find out what's the problem. What is the problem that this appointment is going to solve? Now, a great way to locate these problems, and I've done this for about 20 years, the great way to locate these problems is to read the annual reports that emerge from the university. So, of course, I do it for my research on leadership in higher education and higher education studies. So I read a lot of annual reports, and they're a very interesting genre. You see, these documents, these annual reports, are required for quality assurance and reporting. So a relatively unvarnished truth has to be presented in these annual reports. So the PR crew haven't got their hands on it. The data has to be presented, and it has to be accurate. So when you read an annual report, you may see stuff like staff numbers declining, like that. You may see staff satisfaction declining. You may see student numbers declining. You may see student satisfaction declining. You may see attrition increasing. You're looking for these sorts of variables. You also may see some really interesting stuff that I've discovered in recent years. Yeah, and this is really interesting. I only saw it, I think, for the first time about 5 years ago. I started to see it in New Zealand annual reports, New Zealand University annual reports. And what we're seeing is errors in data collection and analysis. So I'll give you an example. I've seen about 5 of these in the last week. In an annual report, the same fact, so the number of undergraduate students in the university, right? It's a fact. That fact is reported in 3 different ways in the annual report. So they couldn't even get an agreed number on the number of undergraduate students. So there is a data error in the annual report. So what you learn from these sorts of data-based errors that should be quite straightforward is there are governance problems in the university. That is, there are issues with data collection, there are issues with data analysis, and there's no overarching quality assurance. So no one in the organisation has read the annual report and said, team, what are you doing? On page 13 and on page 27, you've reported undergraduate students and you've given us 2 different figures. Which one is right? No one's read it, and no one's had the expertise to correct the error. Important. So read the annual reports, read the strategic plans, read it for facts, but I also need you to go meta. What is going wrong in this organisation? And then you start to shape your application to address that wrongness, show how you can solve their problems. People are hired now only if there are profound challenges, huge problems, and someone needs to solve them now. Okay, so besides this frightening confidence that you need to show in these applications, which we really need to avoid in the rest of our lives, I want you to also do a social media search for the organisation, for the institution, for the university. This is crucial. Yes, you can still use Twitter X because there's some legacy material there. So absolutely search for it via X, Twitter. Also look at Threads. Also look at Blue Sky. All of that's fine. See what's being said by individuals about that university. But also I'd like you to go to Glassdoor. Glassdoor is increasingly useful, and it is international. So yes, you see job advertisements there. I would argue not great ones, but yes, you see job advertisements there. But how I use Glassdoor is I look at the reviews of companies and universities and organisations by people who worked there or did interviews with that organisation. Similarly, you can find some really significant information in Reddit and subreddits. Reddit's really interesting with a lot of remarkable threads with people telling some really deep truths. Remember, all of this information is not to put you off applying. I need you to apply for everything. All this information is about you discovering what is going wrong with that organisation and you demonstrating to them that they've got all these problems and you can fix them. Yep. And remember, use names, use bespoke names of those organisations. So write your letter, Dear Professor Wizard, use the line manager's name. And also in the application, make sure you name check at least 4 people who are going to be working in your academic resource area, your department, your area, your school. So make sure the 4 names, darling names, put in names so that they know you've done your homework and you're dinkum and you really want this job, that you're ready and you're prepared to fill this job at short notice. Let's get to 4, doing well. Make sure your spelling and your formatting is accurate. Sorry to be Debbie Downer, but the little things really are the big things. If you're talking about your communication skills and you've spelt the word communication incorrectly, you are in trouble. So you need to demonstrate. What you're doing in this application is firstly demonstrating competence. Can you write? Can you address criteria? Can you analyse information and offer an interpretation? Remember, we as gatekeepers, we are after any excuse to exclude you from this process. We're after any excuse. So if we see weird formatting and spelling errors and stuff, bye Felicia, you are gone. Also, please remember when you are juggling multiple applications, please finish one at a time. There is nothing worse than doing what I'm about to specify for you now. And that is, say you're applying for a job at the University of Chester. Hi to all my mates at the University of Chester. Great. Applied for a job at the University of Chester. Great. Then you're also applying for a job at Manchester Metropolitan University. Hi to everyone at MMU. And of course, you take the Chester application and you mention the University of Chester in the MMU application. Oh, no. Right, so don't do that. The way you handle this is make sure you send off one application and you get up an hour early and you read it as the first job in the morning. Make sure everything's right, all the identifiers are accurate, the file name is accurate, and then send that off. Then move to your next one. So I need you to make every application as shiny and as fabulous as you can. Great spelling, great formatting. Won't guarantee that you'll be shortlisted, but if there's poor spelling and poor formatting, you won't be shortlisted. And the final tip here, and again, this took a lot of mistakes on the way through to learn this one, please PDF all your documents. That's important because it means you've written this beautiful, immaculate, well-formatted document. PDF it, so how you send it is how it is received. PDF it. And let's get to 5. Organise your social media for employment. Now, after reading your application, what most of us do, if we think, oh, this is pretty good, this person's pretty good, what most of us do is then do a Google search of you to just make sure that we're not going to waste time through the short list or the long list, okay? So the head of the panel, the person that's running the process from HR, will start to move through your social media profiles, starting with LinkedIn, but they'll go everywhere. Okay, so what I need you to do from today is get ahead of the game. How do we do that? I need you to go to Google. I need you to put your name into Google. And I need you to look at the first 20 returns, the first 2 pages of returns to your name. Now, there may be some problems there. That's okay. We start to address those problems today. What I need to do is that we all need to work very hard to make sure that those first 20 returns in Google, you have control over. Other people are not offering comments about you. The first 20 are your content, your stuff, you have control over it. So when you're going through your social media posts at this point, I need crisp, clean professionalism. Anything dodgy, just delete it. Don't be worried about it. Control what you can control. And remember, if you've got some weirdos, and we all, at a certain age, by a certain age, we all have weirdos that do weird things, that just love sort of abusing you and stuff, and they'll tag you in abuse, what you need to do is simply, firstly, screen grab it, then remove the tag. That's the crucial first thing to do. Remove the tag, then report it, and then block it. Okay, so again, you're controlling what you can control, but most importantly, remove the tag. Okay, social media are the shadow application and the shadow CV at the moment. So start right now. Look at your profiles, look at your photographs, look at everything, and start professionalizing them. Check that what people are going to find, you are comfortable that they're going to find that. So I'm not saying don't use social media. In fact, I'm saying the exact opposite. You need to be using it, using a lot, so that you can craft your front stage that is found by Google. So you're managing your professional and your public profile, and you're providing a pathway for people to find you, find your writing, find your research, find your teaching. So your homework this week is to pick 4 social media platforms, make one of them LinkedIn, and go through them all and check that they are professional, coherent, and configuring the front stage that you require. Then I need you to Google yourself. I know it's horrific. Google yourself and look at those first 20 returns. And start to, from today, create these positive interventions and links that allow you to control those first 20 returns. And finally, I need you to open up and start your application master document, and just add 2 or 3 headings each week. This week, start with talk about your degrees, talk about your communication skills, talk about your experience, your expertise, or your capacity to work with stakeholders. Just pick 3 or 4 headings, write up a paragraph. Then next week, oh my goodness, we're going to return with the pre-interview screening process. One of my favourite topics in the universe. Ooh. So thank you for joining me, and I wish you all love, light and peace. Tea out.